Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2023 film Haunted Mansion. Yes, I review PG-13 horror from time to time. There's legitimately good PG-13 horror out there, and I think this one is actually pretty good. I wouldn't say this is like the best, but it was satisfying. I had a good enough time with it. One of the biggest things that you heard me kind of talk about numerous times during this is visually, I really like this film. Now, obviously, I watched it on Disney Plus because that's where it ended up dropping. And yeah, this is a great one that's kind of good for the entire family, or just good for people who don't want, to go too hard on horror, or just want to, kind of interesting, but still like spooky vibes film to watch. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about Haunted Mansion. Directed by Justin Simien, who also did Dear White People and Bad Hair. I have not seen either of those films, but I've heard about them and do want to at some point. Written by Katie Dippold, who wrote a bunch of episodes of the Mad TV show, a bunch of episodes of Parks and Recreation, and then did The Heat, Snatched, and Ghostbusters 2016, which Ghostbusters 2016 gets a lot of hate. I thought it was decent. I didn't love the movie, but I didn't think it was bad either. I was like, it's fine. It's decent. One of the interesting bits of facts, Eddie Murphy reportedly, they wanted him for the film to make at least a cameo, and just for a cameo, he apparently wanted $500,000. So obviously, there's no cameo by Eddie Murphy, because who's going to pay $500,000 just for a freaking cameo? I wouldn't. I think that's terrible use of money for a film like this, and you can see that they spent their money pretty wisely, in my opinion, for this movie. Quick synopsis, it's basically about a woman and her child who move into this house, which I believe it looks like this kind of takes place during the 70s, but then it also looks like it's kind of present day from time to time, so I think this is kind of one of those period mashups where it's kind of 70s but kind of present day, alternate reality type situation, but it works in my opinion. But anyway, it's about a woman played by Rosario Dawson and her child who move into this mansion. They want to make it into an Airbnb, and it's haunted. It's a haunted mansion, basically. And it looks great, by the way. So then she tries to kind of enlist some people to end up helping. It ends up with this whole team of people who are going to try and help get rid of these entities and solve the ultimate puzzle, because there is kind of a mystery element as to what's really going on here, which is pretty engaging. And yeah, it's just fun. There's a lot of humor baked into it because, obviously with any property that's darker, that's put out by Disney, they want it to be humorous to kind of lighten things up. They don't ever want it to be too serious or too foreboding or anything. But, I think they did a good job kind of striking that balance of having it light and fun and funny, but also really good, like I said, spooky vibes to it, and some stuff that's not, I wouldn't say legitimately scary, but slightly creepy. So, good. They don't wait too long to get into the spooky stuff in this. That's one of the things I like. They kind of hit the ground running with letting you know this is a PG-13 horror film. There are spooky things. And one of the big things, I was talking about, it looks so good. Not only is it super well shot, the direction, the cinematography is outstanding, but the set design is phenomenal. That's one of my favorite things. Actually, it is my favorite thing about this film, other than, okay, so set design number one for me with this movie. Love the set design. You can tell they put so much into it. It is elaborate. It has the proper feel for when the film came out, which was in October, perfect for spooky season. And my number two thing that I liked about this was Owen Wilson. Not just Owen Wilson. I always love his acting, but his character. I love his acting plus how his character is written. The most fun in the film, in my opinion. But there are other fun characters, definitely. I do think that some characters get a little bit too much into the brooding area and being a little bit kind of sordid, but it is what it is. But overall good. But yeah, they don't wait long to get into the spooky stuff. It's very well shot and is lit well, even in the darker moments. That's one of my big things. I always hate it. I know I say this all the time, but I hate it when there's a film that has a lot of darkness to it and you can't see what you need to see. It's so dark that you're just why are we even trying to see this right now? Because I can't see enough. but they did a great job of keeping things very dark for a lot of the film, but it's so well lit at the same time that you can see everything you need to see, including that wonderful set design that I was talking about that just really, really shines. Like, I've seen good set design in films before. I'm just going to gush about this. I've seen good set designs in films before, but the set design in this in particular just really hit me as pretty awesome. And I think one of the reasons for that is probably the fact that they want to make attractions and rides based off this at Disney, because, that's what they do with their movies for the most part. It's a great way to, like, not only make money on the movie, but then make money at their parks as well. So I'm guessing that's why the set design was as good as it was, but I'm here for it. The setup is compelling enough to hook you in. It's not like the most amazing setup, but the characters are interesting enough. They have enough depth. The dialogue is well written. The underlying story is well written enough. And the characters themselves are developed well enough. They kind of change over time, and their relationships are pretty interesting. And some of them are nice and humorous. Those are my favorites. There are a few me and my autocorrect. There are a few fun characters. It says run characters. Yeah, there are a few fun characters, like I was talking about Owen Wilson's character being the most fun. I'm not going to tell you much about his character, but just who his character is, I think, is a lot of fun, and you'll see what I mean if you watch it. The humor is pretty solid. It's a hard dance to execute of, like, having horror or horror-ish stuff with some humor. Obviously, it's easier when you're going for a PG-13 to, like, if you're keeping things already light and fun, the humor will work a little bit easier, but it's still not easy to kind of get humor into that type of film that is actually decent. And I think they did an actual decent job, especially because the humor is clean. None of it is, like, too adult, because obviously they want younger people to be watching this as well. Excuse me. The winter, just with my sinuses, There's a mystery aspect which does drive the story forward. I already kind of talked about this, but I do like the fact that that's there. I would have not liked it as much if it was just like, hey, this mansion's haunted and we just have to fight all these ghosts. Because, like, yeah, that's kind of interesting, but how long is that interesting? You need another, like, underlying mystery type thing to kind of drive things forward, and they do that relatively well for this film. They do a nice job of creating and keeping spooky atmosphere, even though it isn't scary. This goes, again, back to the set design, but also the cinematography, the direction, the lighting, the acting definitely helps with that. But they do such a great job of just creating this spooky atmosphere from the beginning and just keeping you in it. And I think that's one of the things I like the most about this film is just, like, I just felt like I was, like, living in Halloween to a degree. And for that reason, a lot of people, younger people than me, will say this movie is a vibe. So I enjoyed that about it. I'm a fan of the set design. I already talked about this numerous times, but I'm going to say it again. I love the set design in this film. There are times where the dialogue doesn't flow all that well. I did say before that the dialogue, for the most part, the dialogue is good. But there are these moments where, like, it feels like it's a little bit disconnected. Like, people are saying things that are coming out oddly, and characters do interact a little bit weird. It's kind of like they're they're doing lines not to another character necessarily. It's kind of an odd thing. You kind of have to actually see it to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's one thing I didn't like all that much. And the ending is pretty decent. Didn't have any issues with it. It wasn't like the best, most awesome ending. You can kind of see where it's going because you've seen films like this before. But, decent enough ending. I thought maybe it was... I understand why, because a lot of, these movies that are for a younger audience typically will go harder at the emotional aspect of films, and I felt like they went a little bit overboard on that, but it was still decent. So anyway, out of 5 stars, half stars in play, I'm going to give this a pretty solid 3.5 star rating. But now is where I'd like to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts on this film. You can put it down in the comments if you loved it, if you hated it, if you're in between, and just kind of give me a sentence or two letting me know why, because I'm always interested in hearing other people's opinions, because maybe there's something I missed, or you can literally change my opinion on some things when you have me reconsider a movie to a degree. Like, when I do these videos, they're typically first reactions. You know, I watched a film once, and this is my reaction to it. So that can change over time. But anyway, do me a favor, hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate that support. Also, doing a thumbs up for any of my videos really can help with the YouTube algorithm. That would be excellent. You can hit the notification bell button, because then you'll know how many videos I'm putting up, which right now when I'm recording this, I'm putting up a video every single day, which I never thought I would do, but I'm doing because I'm mixing shorts in there, a bunch of shorts plus my regular. I'm doing like 4 shorts and 3 regular length videos each week, which I'm putting in work. So pay me back with the likes and the comments and the subscribes. But thank you everyone for checking this out. I appreciate it. And until next time, keep it brutal.